things. Don't bring it up.
Right.
Don't bring it up if you're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be an issue anyway. Now, I realize that I jumped away from a point that you were making earlier.
I made no point.
With the oil companies.
I have no point.
And Barack Obama saying you can't have these leases and sit on them and then make a profit whenever you want.
No, he didn't say.
Well, that's the point he was making, isn't it?
He says, and wait, and then he said, we want to reissue those leases so we can make a profit. That's what he said.
Oh, is that okay?
Meaning the government was going to make some
Well, they
kind
shouldn't
of profit.
make a profit off of those. Yeah,
right.
They shouldn't.
But they do charge fees for those.
But what's weird about the leases, these companies that have them for years, this is land that has never been investigated. It's just land. And a lot of these leases,
it's speculating.
A lot of these leases,
a fee to hold on to a speculation.
And a lot of times they'll get a lease back when they were being issued. They're not anymore. Yeah. They would get there and there would be nothing. But that's part of the business.
Right.
That's fine. You find land, you pay to use the land or buy it or whatever.
You get more geology, you get more science,
you need
and
geologists.
More data
Geologists are probably the most important thing in that.
I would agree with that.
You
being a geologist, I agree with that.
Sometimes you lose out. That's business.
Right.
That takes time. That's why these companies, you can't just get a lease and drill immediately.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's just really frustrating to me.
But some of, his point is, though, that some companies will buy up all these leases to inhibit their competitors from getting them.
We had a moratorium on drilling in the Gulf after the BP oil spill for way too long. Even the people in the Gulf were saying the moratorium was too long. Yeah. The number of leases issued has went down a lot.
Yep.
Mitt Romney may not have been exactly correct. He might have said
Clinton
50%. It was like 47, 48%.
Yeah, he's way
right.
down.
So,
I think point taken, and he has not done a lot for oil and gas in this country.
One of the only times I've ever heard this president take responsibility for anything in his life happened.
I don't know if that's true, but
happened during this debate.
Yeah,
what else is?
I don't know. I can't say it off the top of my head.
Well,
but
yeah,
go ahead.
okay, right.
Your Secretary of State, as I'm sure you know, has said that she takes full responsibility for the attack on the diplomatic mission in Benghazi. Does the buck stop with your
Hillary
Secretary of State as far as what went on here?
Oh.
Secretary Clinton has done an extraordinary job, but she works for me. I'm the president.
What?
And I'm always responsible.
What?
And that's why nobody's more interested in finding out exactly what happened.
She reports to him
than I did.
She works for us.
Yeah, but he took responsibility.
I know he did. I don't know.
She took responsibility for the attacks.
She was going to fall on the sword, and he pulled the sword away.
She did fall on the sword. He let her fall on the sword, and then they backtracked from that because nobody bought it. That's why she came out that day or the day before and took the blame, was so he could say, it was Hillary Clinton. But that didn't work out because the American people are smarter than he is, and they saw that coming.
They are a little smarter than that. This is Hillary. This is a quote from her.
That sounds like Nancy Pelosi.
Maybe this is Hillary. I don't know.
Huh. One of them might be Harry Reid, too. I'm not sure.
Well, I don't know.
Well, Harry Reid just says, I got a phone call in. Mitt Romney doesn't pay taxes.
Maybe this is Harry.
That's close. He's senile.
Anyways.
Something wrong with him. But
all right.
The last point I wanted to make from this debate, other than saying that it was pretty well a wash, Obama came out stronger than he did in the first debate.
Yeah.
He did what he wanted to do. He was in a funny spot where he needed to be more aggressive than the first debate, but not look like as much of a moron as Joe Biden did in the VP debate. And I think he did that. Yeah. I think Obama did exactly what he wanted to do. He interrupted. He lied. He did all the standard things that his administration's been doing for 4 years. So I think Romney came out ahead on substance.
Well, you would say that it being
well, I mean, because I care about facts and truth and things like that.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I do. But the last point from the debate, gun control came up.
Do we want to maybe save that for the next show? Or
well, we can. I mean, yeah, I think we'll play it here, and
okay.
we can reuse it if you'd like to.
Okay.
We're talking about the debate. It's part of the debate, so we don't have
well,
any repeat
let's
listeners.
preface this by saying that you and I both agree Second Amendment is an individual right,
Yes.
and that is absolutely vital. What's this waving thing?
There was no waving thing.
You waved a little.
That was a signal.
You.
That was... Well, look, we can talk about this.
I just want to say that we both agree that the Second Amendment is an individual right that shouldn't be tampered with
And
by
it's very clear.
the government.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Yes.
all I wanted to say.
So
what are you going to play?
So my belief is that, A, we have to enforce the laws we've already got, make sure that we're
Makes
keeping
sense.
guns out of the hands of criminals,
Yep.
those who are
Makes sense.
mentally ill.
True.
We've done a much better job in terms of background checks, but we've got more to do
I don't know about that.
when it comes to enforcement.
I don't think much.
But I
change in that.
also share your belief that weapons that were designed for soldiers in war theaters don't belong on our streets.
What?
And so what I'm trying to do is to get a broader conversation about how do we reduce the violence generally. Part of it is seeing if we can get an assault weapons ban reintroduced, but part of it is also looking at other sources of the violence. Because frankly, in my hometown of Chicago, there's an awful lot of violence, and they're not using AK-47s, they're using cheap handguns.
what?
Oh,
What?
yeah, they're the same.
Let's talk about this a little
You
bit.
pause that, okay.
Let's talk about this. Well,
Right.
that was the end of the clip.
Okay.
But he thinks that we need an assault weapons ban to get these guns,
evil assault
guns
weapons
that were
off the
designed for
street.
soldiers to be used in a war theater.
Like handguns.
No.
No, handguns
Well,
were designed.
Were they?
Well, yeah.
I mean,
They are used in war theaters.
yeah. Were they designed for soldiers?
Sure.
Or do they? Would handguns fall under an assault weapons ban?
How about
don't
the
know.
Colt 45?
Yeah, I'm
handgun?
not disagreeing with you.
I know. I'm just saying for our
Yeah.
audience that handgun was designed for military use.
And he wants an assault weapons ban again. This
Right.
question, by the way, was
And
the assault weapons ban is no longer in effect, and all these people are getting murdered now.
Well,
what are you going to do?
okay,
about
well
it?
here's the truth with that. The assault weapon ban did absolutely nothing
Mm-hmm.
to prevent crime. The fact is, assault weapons are used in very, very, very,
Mm-hmm.
very, very, very few crimes. And the third question I have is, what is an assault weapon?
Right.
There is no definition of that. That is a political term invented by reporters in the liberal media to try to scare people into thinking these guns are evil in some
Yep.
way.
Yeah.
But the same characteristics that go into these so-called assault weapons are the same characteristics that I have in my deer hunting
As
rifle.
far as
Yeah.
bullet size, chamber, and caliber.
Oh, actually, the
all
assault
of that.
weapons are much smaller in caliber. My deer rifle is much bigger.
Sure.
But as far as being a semi-automatic,
Mm-hmm.
being able to shoot a projectile a long distance,
Right.
Right. Scopes and all that kind of stuff. I mean, come on.
But then he ends
It's
this
crap.
by
It's
saying
rhetoric.
that his hometown of Chicago
Yeah.
has
A handgun
the
issue.
violence rate is going up, which is true.
Yeah.
Most people are being killed with cheap handguns,
Huh.
and I can't imagine that a cheap handgun would fall under an assault weapons ban. It
No, it
certainly didn't fall under the previous assault weapons ban.
Right, and we can also look at, Chicago is unique in the fact that they don't really allow citizens, not unique, but
It's illegal to have the guns there anyway.
right, you can't carry a firearm lawfully in Chicago
Yeah.
for personal defense.
These people generally are not being murdered
So-
by legally owned and
Right.
and legally carried
Yeah,
cheap handguns.
right.
The laws already say, nope, you can't take a gun and kill somebody with it
Right,
in
right,
Chicago
right.
or in any
Or
city.
anywhere in the country. I don't think there's any law that allows you to do
Right.
that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you know what? Murder's illegal.
Right.
It doesn't stop murder.
Okay, so
may
he
deter
wants,
some, I don't
because
know.
he's having some people killed in Chicago with illegal handguns, he wants to ban assault rifles, so-called assault rifles, which we don't know what they are.
Well, assault weapons, and maybe that includes the
Weapons.
cheap handguns.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
If
you're
he
right,
had
weapons.
if he had his way, it would include everything that
Right.
you can imagine that he doesn't like,
Right.
which would be all firearms.
Right.
He obviously doesn't know anything about firearms.
I agree. He's not a gun guy.
Mitt Romney also, I don't believe he knows much about
Not a gun
firearms.
guy. No.
I'm not in favor of new pieces of legislation on guns and taking guns away or making certain guns illegal. We, of course, don't want to have automatic weapons, and that's already illegal in this country to have automatic weapons.
You can own
What I believe
weapons
is we
with
have to
license.
do, as the President mentioned towards the end of his remarks there, which is to make enormous efforts to enforce the gun laws that we have and to change the culture of violence we have.
Sure.
You know what? I would be willing to spend 2 hours with the Romney people and educate them on firearm laws in the United States, because nobody is doing this with this guy, and it's a frigging important issue in this country.
It is.
And if this guy thinks that automatic weapons are illegal in this country, he's absolutely a moron. And I don't blame him; I blame his people for that.
Yeah, and I made a post shortly after this on Facebook, I think it was, that said, "Mr. President, don't touch our guns. We won't stand for it." Or, well, now that I think about it, we will stand.
Apparently, we
will
will stand up
stand.
for it.
But
Against it.
And I said, Mitt, reread the Second Amendment. It doesn't exclude automatic weapons.
And what did he say? Did he respond? Not yet.
No.
Yeah.
He said he'll get back to me on that, like he did with the Lily Ledbetter.
He will get back with you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Neither one of these candidates are gun people and are pro-gun. There's no question about that. One
Yes,
might do
and
more
one is
harm.
anti-gun.
Yeah,
the other one
definitely
I
is.
don't think is.
It-
Now, to
he's
be fair,
neutral.
Candy Crowley jumped in and said, "But Mr. Romney, you signed an assault weapons ban in
Right.
Massachusetts."
Right.
And he said what he did, because Massachusetts is a very left-leaning state.
Right.
He had
He worked,
Democratic,
yeah.
Congress.
And it's very small.
Yeah, he worked with both sides and got something that both sides could agree on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will buy that the NRA signed on to it, but they're as liberal as the rest of them
Right,
when it comes
NRA is
to
no
gun
friend of
rights.
gun owners.
They are not. They are not.
Regardless of what people are saying about the NRA, they
Yeah.
really don't
They
support
they
gun
are
rights.
not actually pro-gun as the Constitution has spelled it out.
If you actually look at their history, they're very anti-gun.
Mhm.
They were the first ones to write gun control bills
Yeah.
in the 30s
Yeah.
and 40s.
So
Yeah, anyways.
let's just say my membership lapsed.
Yeah.
I'm voting for Romney. I think if you don't vote for Romney, you are either misinformed or stupid. Those are really the only two choices. That's going to piss a lot of people off.
Well,
But I'm getting tired of hearing these people that are going to vote for Gary Johnson, the libertarian, who would have voted for Ron Paul, but he's retiring now because it didn't work. It's not that I'm not on board with most
of
of
the
what
things he
those
says, yeah,
most of what they agree with. Their foreign policy is nuts to me.
Yeah.
Strength,
well, they're
or
totally isolationist.
peace by strength is a good strategy, and it works.
Yep.
But right now is not the time for 100% principled voting. And I hate to say that, and
Yeah,
it's
but
not that I'm compromising,
The
and
other
I
people
don't
argue that.
I don't
but
love the
when
two
is
party.
the time?
Not when the choice is between somebody who's going to destroy the country,
Right.
worse than he
Perhaps
already
you're right.
has.
Yeah.
He campaigned on fundamentally
Oh, God.
transforming
The evil
this
he
country.
will do now that he's term limited, Obama.
And that's
it'll
what
be horrible.
he said that to the Russian president. Well, the
Right.
previous
We'll
Russian
wait until I
president
get
or his
reelected.
spokesperson or whatever.
Prime Minister, ambassador, whatever they are.
Whatever. I need more time.
Right. When I
I
get
need
reelected,
more time.
I can do
This
what
is my
you want.
last election. I won't have to worry about it. So the choice couldn't be any more clear. It's between an anti-American. I think Obama hates this country. I don't think he wants good things for this country.
I agree with you.
Romney loves the country.
Well, I think so, too.
I think he wants
To do right.
his policies may not be perfect,
Right.
but I don't think he's going to do more harm.
Ideologically, he's, I think, going to be better for the country than
Exactly
Obama
right.
administration.
Exactly right.
And his people and his cronies and all the people that he's appointed.
Yep, exactly right. So with that, we are out of time now. We'll do another show to
we'll
talk
do
about
another show about the Al Smith fundraiser.
the Al Smith fundraiser.
We might talk a little bit about guns again. Who knows?
I'm sure we will. We're
And,
both fairly passionate about that topic, so
Yeah.
we will.
You
But
commie Russian, you.
until the next show, we want to thank you for listening to At Odds.
Thank you very much.